Christmas reads and courtroom delays this week. Our attention turns to festive reading lists and a legal saga that continues to rumble on behind the scenes of the game. Last-minute stocking fillers, yes. It's December 24th. Yes, time is painfully short. But even if the opportunity to dash to the shops has passed, a good rugby book remains a worthwhile gift at any time of year. In a season where the Lions conquered Australia and several of the sport's greats made their final tackles, carries and passes, 2025 has produced a rich crop of rugby literature. From personal reckonings and career retrospectives to attempts at setting records straight, there has been no shortage of compelling releases. .2 English scrum halves dominate this year's shelves. Ben Youngs and Danny Kerr, who between them amassed 228 international caps alongside countless domestic highs and lows. Both brought the curtain down on their playing careers in June and swiftly followed up with autobiographies that Young's Beyond the Line is the more intimate of the two. His career was punctuated by profound personal loss, with close family members taken by terminal illness far too young, and by an internal struggle to maintain his love for the game, a battle that famously led to his withdrawal from the 2017 Lions tour. Told with refreshing simplicity and warmth, it is a genuine page-turner that paints Youngs as an eminently likable figure you can't help but wish well. Cares everything happens for a reason, however, charts a path that is no less compelling. It covers the abrupt end of a potential football career, the serendipitous holiday that changed his personal life forever, and two deeply damaging off-field incidents that nearly cost him everything. At times confessional and occasionally confrontational, Kerr's story is ultimately about resilience, accountability, and refusing to be defined by your lowest moments. As such, it may be the more inspirational of the two. If careers shaped by adversity are what you're looking for, David Bishop's The Bish stands apart. Widely regarded as one of the most gifted scrum halves Wales ever produced, Bishop's story quickly moves beyond rugby into deeply personal territory. After recovering from a broken neck early in his career, he became Pontypool's starting nine and earned a solitary Wales cap in 1984, scoring a try-on tour in Australia. Tipped as the long-term successor to Terry Holmes, his career was derailed by an 11-month ban following an on-field altercation. It never recovered, and his private life soon followed a similar trajectory. It is a gripping and sobering what might have been tale. Irish readers will naturally gravitate towards Conor Murray's autobiography, but Peterbilt's triumphs, trophies, and troubles offers something broader. Written to mark the IRFU's 150th anniversary, it is a character-driven and slightly detached examination of Irish rugby, from the same author whose study of French rugby was so well received in the Southern Hemisphere. Ian Foster has joined the growing list of former All Blacks coaches to reflect on the pressures of the top job. His account is particularly compelling, given it coincided with the twilight of New Zealand's golden era and was accompanied by political maneuvering and, at times, deeply personal attacks. Gilbert Inoka, long credited as the psychological architect behind that era, has also published his reflections, offering a challenging and thoughtful guide for players and coaches alike. From the player's perspective, Eben Etzebeth Unlocked provides a simpler, more heartwarming story of ambition, determination, and growing up in South Africa, a rugby landscape that can feel almost otherworldly to outsiders. Finally, a book that deserves a permanent place on any seasoned rugby fan's shelf is Paul Williams' Rugby Was Better When, an offbeat and data-driven exploration of the sport's most familiar complaints. Williams uses humor and evidence to interrogate the idea that rugby's best days are always behind it. Rugby's day in court postponed away from the bookshelf. Rugby's long-awaited reckoning in court suffered another setback this week. The class action brought by more than 1,000 former players across both rugby codes hit an unflattering obstacle when the claimant solicitors, Rylands Garth, lost their appeal against a ruling that they had failed to properly disclose required medical records to the defendants. World Rugby, the RFU, the WRU, and the Rugby Football League. The defendants had requested full medical histories for all claimants, including GP records, a demand Rylands Garth argued was logistically impossible given the scale of the case. The firm said it had already submitted hundreds of thousands of pages of documentation and accused the governing bodies of deliberately delaying proceedings. However, the presiding judge was clear that the court's requirements were both lawful and unambiguous. As a result, players whose medical records remain incomplete now face having their claims struck out entirely, dealing a blow not only to their own cases but to the progress of the litigation as a whole. 5 years on from the initial filings, those affected continue to live with the consequences of head injuries, while clarity around the risks remains inconsistent and fragmented. What is beyond dispute, however, is that players are getting bigger, and the collisions are not getting any smaller.